run by amateurs, C, insecure. It's in its interest to do all of that. It's also in Microsoft's interest to make sure that anyone who does choose to not use Microsoft still pays Microsoft. So what I can see happening is this attachmate company starting off and not putting very much effort into SUSE, still selling it. They may still even use the SUSE brand, attachmate SUSE or something. And what it will be is the message from Microsoft will come out loud and clear. Linux is illegal, it's our property, and the only way that you can stay legal is if you get it from these guys. And if you don't buy it from these guys, if you don't pay their prices and accept whatever distribution they put out, then we may turn up with the lawyers with a hefty legal bill and demand that you cough up a lot of cash to us. It's basically the extortion thing, to say those are the only official Linux. You either go with that or you face the consequences. And then this company, as you said, Roy, there's every chance that if they have no history in open source, they have no history of working, of any concept of what a community is, what community involvement is, and development is, then they could easily let SUSE go to the dogs, and not update very much, not do much in the way of bug fixing, not do much in the way of feature improvements, but still sell it, so that Microsoft can turn around and say, you want Linux, you go to those guys.
I just wanted to say something. I think one thing I like to do when I find the time, I haven't actually written anything too detailed about this company so far. I've talked about previous things that happened in about 20 or 15 to 20 posts, but we need to look at who was entering the company in the past year or so, because very often in the case of Acacia, for instance, you find that just weeks before they sued Linux, they basically took some staff from Microsoft, which is interesting, and also for very high positions, things like vice president and so on. So you need to check the history of people who work with this company to try and find out what their interests might be, or maybe a help in a former employer. And also, one thing you might want to check is the press releases from the past year. If they're even if they aren't a public company, a publicly traded company, you should be able to see what they've been doing recently and what the interests are. Because with Novell, even though they did put even in management position some former Microsoft managers, lots of people don't know that, and also in the board of directors of Novell, they had certain people who were from Microsoft. And this, by the way, could contribute to them actually selling the patents to Microsoft. This Novell from the inside was turning into more of Microsoft DNA. And they gave this to a company which is basically set up and arranged by people who we don't really know anything about. I personally don't know anything about their background. And then there is this shell that took all the patents. And again, we don't really have anything which suggests that this company has anything to do with any major company like Oracle or Apple. I think it's just basically Microsoft and some companies, and they aren't a very public entity. They were just like this small group, I think, based somewhere in the States. I think not Detroit. Or was it Delaware? I think. Is it Delaware? Company is based in. The shell is based in. Did you guys see?
No, but I was just about to butt in with something else. So I'll wait for you to finish, Roy. Sorry. What I was going to say, Roy. Sorry for the little bit of silence. I don't know whether you've noticed this article yet, but literally it's just popped into my RSS little news feed that I've got set up, and it's from internetnews.com. It's about the attachmate bid, and it's what it's saying here is that the deal is now already attracted to legal investigations, which could ultimately result in class action lawsuits. One of the investigations is being led by Wise and Lur, I think that's pronounced rightly, and the other is by former federal judge Joe Kendall. I don't know if you've seen that yet. Well, it's literally just popped into my RSS feed.
Do you think a person is actually involved? Do you think a company perhaps made a complaint of some sort?
I'm just literally reading the article as you were talking, and like I say, we try to keep this as up to the minute as possible for an audio cast. So as you were talking, I was just literally reading it. But I've just posted the link. This link will be available on show notes for everybody else to read as well, and it's on a site internetnews.com. So that's just come in. I didn't know whether you previously read that prior to us coming on now.
I was actually complaining a bit in Identica. I was trying to tell people what was happening to a certain extent, to try and talk to people from Red Hat or from any of the other companies. We're trying to talk to Jonah Bacon from Canonical to explain to him what was happening with patents, because I think it has to be a rival of Microsoft. Can be a CEO or a COO of a competitor of Microsoft, which can actually have the authority to have somebody look into the case or to put some pressure on the case. So you need to try and persuade people to say, look, this is wrong because this company here, we could actually do an investigation, get some papers out, and find that this company was in correspondence with Microsoft before the deal.
From what I can see, the crux of it appears to be that the investigation is around the issue of the attachment deal not giving the best deal possible for Novell shareholders. That seems to be what the crux of the complaint or allegation or whatever you want to call it.
That's a bit. Let me just see that.
Yeah. That's just the sort of crux I've gleaned from it. Yeah.
That's the nature of the show. We haven't actually arranged any of this. And also we have some technical issues. I'm not sure if you get it on your line. I hear myself sometimes, and it's really distracting, so it's hard for me to.
Yeah, there's a bit of echo, I think, on the feed this time around.
Well, just while you're trying to, I'll add a wee funny thing in here, just while you're getting your links and that together. Did you know that Microsoft don't like monopolies? They said so. They don't like monopolies. In fairness, though, what they were talking about was Google's search monopoly. And, that's what they were talking about. And they said monopolies are bad for consumers. They don't provide innovation. They sort of conveniently forget that the fact that, well, what about the desktop monopoly and the Office monopoly? It's shh.
Oh yeah, I don't think you count those. Yeah, no, you don't
exactly.
count those.
So yeah, Microsoft don't like monopolies. It's official. They said so.
Yeah. As long as everybody's using their software. Talking of which, there was the Kinect. Now, I can't find the links. I'm not going to scrabble around for this, so I'm going to have to confirm it. So take it with a pinch of salt at the moment. But if you cast your mind back a couple of episodes, we're talking about the sort of it was the threats of legal action for people writing open source drivers for the Kinect. I recently saw an article, now that obviously those drivers have been written and nobody paid any attention to the Microsoft implication that law enforcement agencies could get involved. It now seems that Microsoft is pleased that the Kinect is going open, and that was its intention all along. And I'm trying to find the article that I saw on my way to work, which I was reading, which had a statement from Microsoft, I believe, which said that they were very happy it's all open, and it was going to bring forward a new era of innovation, or words to that effect. I'll have to put that on the show notes because I can't see that now, and I'm not going to click and waste everybody's time clicking on there now.
That was why they open sourced the drivers right from the off, because they always wanted it to be open in the first place.
Yeah. They were waiting. I think they were waiting for other people to, because they know the enjoyment people get out of that. So, but they intended it to be open all along, apparently. So, yes, moving swiftly on. Roy, was there anything else you wanted to add? I take it you've had a little look at the at the link.
Just make some notes for myself for later. I'm going to write something about it. This isn't quite what we talked about, the issues of competition. It's more to do with investors not being too happy with the deal. And that's a very common thing from some investors and from Yahoo in some cases, that some of the shareholders were suing Yahoo for not selling to Microsoft and all sorts of things like that. And it's a very common thing, especially when you sell very big companies. And I think one of those firms, let me just get the names of that, one of these, Candle Law Group, I saw their names for at least once. So they apparently kind of specialize in these cases where a company sells and the investor doesn't think the judgment of the board was sufficiently sound.